In episode 40, Prioritization and Heat Map Pitfalls, we examine one of the most seductive yet dangerous tools in risk management, the colorful matrix that promises clarity at a glance. Pretty charts can mislead. A heat map's vibrant grid of greens, yellows, and reds gives an illusion of precision that reality rarely supports. When overused or misinterpreted, it distorts priorities, simplifies nuance, and replaces reasoning with decoration. The true purpose of prioritization is to focus decisions and resources, not to produce graphics that please leadership. In this episode, we dissect common traps and explore how to keep visualization serving insight rather than image. The first and most fundamental pitfall lies in the misuse of ordinal math. Qualitative scales for probability and impact rank relative levels. They are not interval values that support multiplication or addition. Yet many teams routinely multiply 3x3 or 5x5 grids as though each step were equal distance apart. The result is pseudo-mathematical scoring that implies precision where none exists. Ordinal data is about order, not arithmetic. A risk scored 5 for impact is not necessarily 5 times worse than a 1. Treating these rankings as numeric misrepresents meaning and turns thoughtful comparison into numerical fiction. Averages compound the distortion by hiding extremes in tails. When analysts compute average impact or likelihood across departments or timeframes, they flatten peaks and valleys into misleading smoothness. Outliers, low probability but high impact exposures, vanish into bland midpoints. These are precisely the risks that later erupt as unforeseeable crises. Averages are statistical comfort food, easy to digest, nutritionally empty. Effective prioritization preserves contrast. It highlights both the everyday and the exceptional, showing management where the tails of the distribution hold hidden leverage or danger. Visibility beats mathematical tidiness every time. Color scales introduce psychological bias more powerfully than numbers do. Red, yellow, and green signal danger, caution, and safety to the human brain long before analysis registers. Viewers often interpret these hues literally, assuming a red cell demands action even if its underlying assumptions are weak, or that green means done when controls may simply mask uncertainty. Small design choices, color saturation, grid shape, or legend position can unconsciously steer interpretation. Analysts must remember, color is communication, not conclusion. The tool should highlight attention areas, not dictate emotions or decisions. Focusing on narratives instead of pixels restores substance. Behind each plotted point lies a story of causes, timing, and control. Facilitators should present these narratives before displaying the chart, explaining how data were derived and what each cluster implies for strategy. The picture then becomes illustration, not argument. Narratives remind audiences that risks live in systems, not squares. A heat map supports understanding only when contextualized by reasoning. Otherwise, it becomes a conversation stopper, visually persuasive yet intellectually shallow. Storytelling turns charts from art into evidence. Comparison works only within consistent categories. Mixing technical, financial, and reputational risks on the same matrix erases important distinctions in consequence and controllability. Each domain deserves its own calibrated view or at least its own axis definitions. Comparing unlike risks is like comparing weather to music. Both produce signals but operate on different scales. Segmentation keeps analysis fair and actionable. When comparing items, always confirm they share the same measurement logic. Homogeneity of context ensures that prioritization ranks meaningfully rather than randomly. Pareto analysis and cumulative contribution charts often reveal more insight than color grids. By showing which few risks account for most of the expected exposure, Pareto views guide management attention precisely. Cumulative contribution plots visualize how effort or investment can yield disproportionate reduction in total risk. These approaches maintain quantitative logic without false precision. They also frame prioritization as resource optimization, how to achieve the greatest stability per unit of effort rather than aesthetic ranking. Pareto thinking restores efficiency where heat maps often create distraction. Domino and dependency effects deserve special elevation. A single moderate risk that triggers several others can surpass a supposedly higher-scoring standalone event. Dependency mapping shows where knock-on effects accumulate across systems, vendors, or processes. By highlighting these connections, analysts uncover leverage points, mitigations that neutralize multiple risks simultaneously. Heat maps obscure this network behavior because each cell is isolated. Real-world events cascade. Visualization should reflect that interdependence. Prioritization informed by relationships, not isolated points, aligns with how risk actually propagates through organizations. Certain risks warrant escalation regardless of score. These are intolerables, conditions that violate laws, ethics, or safety standards. No matrix position can make them acceptable. For example, a low likelihood but catastrophic safety failure remains top priority even if the math says otherwise. Embedding escalation rules for intolerables ensures that value systems, not algorithms, determine moral boundaries. Judgment must govern where data cannot. Prioritization loses legitimacy the moment convenience overrides conscience. Clear thresholds for non-negotiable risks preserve both integrity and accountability. Uncertainty ranges should accompany numeric or color-coded results whenever possible. Displaying confidence intervals, scenario bands, or qualitative confidence ratings communicates that every estimate has error. Showing range builds humility into interpretation. A risk plotted at medium might easily shift higher or lower with new data. Visual cues, error bars, shaded gradients, or confidence symbols remind audiences that these analyses describe possibility, not certainty. Transparent uncertainty fosters trust. It says, here is what we know and how sure we are, which is more credible than feigned precision. Providing action lists alongside visuals keeps attention where it belongs, on decision and movement. A prioritized list with clear owners, next steps, and timeframes transforms analysis into management. Charts should accompany, not replace, these lists. Executives act on clarity, not color. The bridge from visualization to execution is explicit responsibility. Every red cell should correspond to a named owner and a scheduled intervention. Without this link, a heat map becomes decoration that leaves risk unchanged. Prioritization always operates under constraints, resources, schedules, and political realities. Documenting those constraints clarifies why certain decisions were made. For example, a moderate risk may remain untreated because mitigation costs exceed available budget, or a high-impact issue might wait due to dependency on an external partner. Recording these conditions prevents hindsight blame and enables transparent governance. Constraints are not excuses, they are context. Clear notes turn prioritization from arbitrary choice into traceable decision logic that withstands audit and turnover alike. Independent sanity checks protect against internal bias and methodological error. A second team or external reviewer can re-rank top items, challenge assumptions, and verify that visualization choices do not distort interpretation. Independence introduces fresh eyes to detect misplaced confidence or unnoticed blind spots. These checks should occur before results reach leadership, ensuring that the story presented reflects collective reasoning, not isolated judgment. Verification sustains credibility and guards against groupthink disguised as consensus. Decisions come before decorations. The purpose of analysis and visualization is to enable action, not to produce artistic dashboards. Heat maps can be helpful summaries when used correctly, but they must never substitute for judgment or dialogue. Prioritization is a thinking process, one that integrates logic, values, and timing into direction. When analysts remember that clarity outweighs cosmetics, they turn color from distraction into communication. Decisions, not design, define the value of risk management. The map may be bright, but it is the movement it inspires that matters most. Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.